Exposed, a young widow's heartwarming journey from infertility to an unexpected prince's love. In the heart of a breathtaking American landscape, Sarah sat on her porch, staring at the fading sunset that painted the sky a vibrant orange. Her fingers lightly brushed over the worn wooden railing, each splintered edge a reminder of the joy and sorrow that filled her days. Just 6 months ago, her husband, Ryan, had returned home in a flag-draped coffin, leaving behind a shattered life and a heartache that felt insurmountable. Now, she carried the heavy burden of grief and the haunting silence of infertility, longing for the family they dreamed of. The mornings began with whispers of hope that quickly turned into exhaustion as she juggled multiple jobs and the overwhelming responsibilities of her family farm. Every casserole dropped off by kind neighbors felt more like a reminder of what she didn't have, what she might never have. They meant well, but each one highlighted her isolation, the intense need for companionship that tugged at her being. Then he came a soft-spoken newcomer named Jake, the new schoolteacher with an infectious smile and kindness that felt like a warm embrace. "How about a community barbecue?" he proposed, and it lit a flicker of excitement inside her for the first time in months. Slowly but surely, their friendship blossomed, grounded in shared dreams and a deep understanding of the heartache that life sometimes dealt. But just as she began allowing herself to hope, Sarah faced a devastating setback. She had found a way to consider fertility treatments, just to be met with a wave of judgment from the townsfolk. Whispers snaked through the air like a chilling wind, branding her choices as selfish. "I can't believe she would go down that route," she overheard one neighbor murmur, the sting of their words cutting deeper than any knife. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With her heart heavy and eyes burning with unshed tears, Sarah clung to the hope that Jake offered. He saw her not as a widow seeking pity, but as a woman with dreams worth pursuing. Together, they confronted the shadows of gossip, kindling a bond that refused to be extinguished. As they confronted community prejudices, Sarah fought hard to reclaim her sense of self, her worthiness tangled up in their newfound love. Just as Sarah felt she could breathe again, Jake made a proposal, an unexpected turn that left her breathless. But looming over her like a thundercloud was the fear of her past and the weight of societal expectations. Could she embrace this opportunity for love and motherhood, or would she let the past pull her back into despair? Standing at the edge of rekindled dreams, she felt the town's gaze upon her, the tension hanging thick in the air. In that moment, her heart raced against the clock, a moment pregnant with possibility, yet burdened with doubt. What will she choose? The air shimmered with uncertainty, alive with the chatter of neighbors and the whispers of judgment that seemed to echo through Sarah's mind. Jake stood across the porch, his expression a mix of hope and concern. He had put himself out there, offering a vision of love and a future she could hardly dare to dream of. "Sarah," he began, his voice steady but gentle, "I want to support you, whatever that looks like. But I need you to be honest with me. What are you really feeling?" Her heart raced as she weighed her words, the weight of her grief and shame rising like a tide. "It's just, what if I'm not worthy? What if I can't give you what you want? What if the town never lets me forget?" Jake took a step closer, his eyes filled with such warmth that she almost drowned in their depths. "You are worthy. Worthy of love, of dreams, of every hope you hold in your heart. Don't let fear rob you of that." Tears pooled in her eyes as she searched his face, searching for any sign of doubt or fear. But all she found was an unwavering conviction that made her heart flutter and ache all at once. For the first time, she thought maybe he saw her as more than a widow, perhaps he saw her as someone who could still thrive. The barbecue loomed ever closer on the weekend, and as the days passed, Sarah busied herself preparing for it. She decorated the old barn with fairy lights and set up tables with checkered cloths. Each task became a mini celebration, like decorating for a holiday she forgot existed. She felt alive, each tiny flicker of excitement chasing away the shadows of despair. Her phone buzzed with encouragement from friends and neighbors with shared moments and cherished laughter, but just as the last string of light settled in place, a knot twisted inside her stomach, the whispers from earlier creeping in again. The judgment she had felt before gnawed at her, reminding her that maybe this was all just a fantasy, a fleeting moment before the town's venomous opinions swarmed back. The day of the barbecue arrived, bringing with it an unusual buzz of excitement. There was an aromatic blend of grilled burgers and laughter hanging in the air. But as Sarah welcomed guests, her heart pounded like a drum, uncertainty clinging to her like a heavy cloak. She caught a glimpse of familiar faces, many of them smiling, but others wore frowns that told stories she feared. Then she saw Jake, effortlessly mingling, his laughter contagious. He caught her gaze and smiled. It made her feel anchored amid the chaos, his presence a grounding force in a world that felt so out of control. As the evening unfolded, she gathered her courage, stood in the middle of the gathering, and raised her glass. I know some of you have questions about my choices and my future. I'm here to tell you that I'm more than my past. I'm willing to face the pain, to seek joy, and to embrace what love can look like in the messiness of life. A murmur rippled through the crowd, eyes wide with surprise and curiosity. It felt like a small earthquake, a shift of the ground beneath her, the possibility of acceptance. As she finished her speech, she noticed a group of women murmuring together, their faces twisted in skepticism. Her heart sank as she realized the battle ahead. Wouldn't he end with a toast? Would she stand up to them? Would she allow her heart to love fully despite the judgment? The night held its breath, as Sarah felt the pressure of choices pressing down on her. As Jake moved closer, she looked at him, his hopeful smile still shining bright, and felt the pull of her heart. In that electric moment, she wondered, was this the turning point she had been waiting for? Or would the darkness of her past swallow her whole, leaving her to grapple with the ghosts she fought so hard to escape? As the murmur of the crowd continued to ripple around her, Sarah's heart raced. She could feel every pair of eyes on her, some curious, some critical. A knot tightened in her stomach, but she refused to falter. She gripped her glass tightly, reminding herself of what Jake had said. She was worthy of this moment. She was worthy of love. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice stronger now. I know this isn't the easiest gathering for some of us, and I won't pretend everything is perfect. But I believe in moving forward, not just for myself but for all of us. The reactions varied, there were supportive nods from a few, but the skeptical faces remained unmoved. The tension in the air thickened, but she pressed on, fueled by something deeper than fear-hope. I lost a part of myself in my grief, she continued, but I refuse to let that define me. Each of you has played a role in my journey, and I want us to grow together. We can build a future, full of laughter, in the light of our shared experiences. Let us not just whisper about one another. Let us talk, share, and heal together. A brief silence followed, then the clinking of glasses rang out as a few guests raised their drinks to her. Sarah felt buoyed by their small act of support, but it was quickly overshadowed by the scowls still casting shadows on the hopeful moment. Why do you think we should care? One woman with a defined chin and sharp eyes stepped forward. You made your choices. You think just sudden appearances and pretty words will change how we feel? Heat flooded Sarah's cheeks, words jumbled in her mind. But Jake stepped in, a solid presence at her side. Because we should care, Margaret, he said firmly. Sarah deserves the chance to be seen for who she is now, not just who she was. We all deserve that chance. His gaze swept through the crowd, gathering the attention of the doubters. Sarah's heart swelled. Here was someone standing for her, declaring with confidence that the past didn't have to dictate the present. Jake is right. I know I've made mistakes and that my past will always be part of me, Sarah added, her voice steadying. But it doesn't define me. I want a future filled with love, light and laughter. And I want that for all of us. A couple of people stirred, the tension easing just a little as hesitant smiles started to break through. Hope flickered in her chest, fighting back against the shadows still looming in her mind. Then a younger woman, with freckles and bright eyes, spoke up, "I've been where you are, Sarah. It's scary to step out of the darkness. But you can be that light for others too. How do you plan to help everyone heal?" Gratitude welled inside Sarah. She noticed how a few heads were starting to nod in understanding. Well, she paused, searching for the right words. "I think we can start by building community. Maybe hosting events where we share not just our joys but our struggles. Support groups, perhaps. We need to talk more. Not just gossip and judge." Some murmurs of agreement grew louder, and the bitter edge in the air seemed to dull just a little. For the first time that evening, she felt hope seeping into the cracks of despair. Jake's hand brushed against her back, a gentle gesture of encouragement. With a renewed sense of purpose, Sarah decided to take a step further. "Let us take this night to connect, to share openly. We're stronger together, and together, we can find a way forward." As conversations began to shift, Sarah thought perhaps she had started a spark. The balance of judgment and support began to tilt ever so slightly toward understanding. But she also knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Just as she felt the weight lift a little, she saw Margaret's disdainful look linger across the yard. The fight wasn't over. As the night progressed, laughter broke across the meadow, but Sarah still sensed the lingering doubt around her. What would it take for them to truly embrace her? Would they ever see her beyond her past? As she watched the fireflies dance in the twilight, she understood this was just the beginning. And maybe, just maybe, she could be the change she wanted to see, even if the shadows fought against her light. But first, she would have to confront her past and earn her place among them once more. The whispers weren't gone yet, but they couldn't drown out the sounds of potential and possibility. Would they turn into a chorus of acceptance, or would they remain a storm cloud hanging over her? The laughter slowly faded, replaced by a simmering tension that hung in the cool night air. Sarah could feel the fragile thread of hope she had begun to weave with her words, but the oppressive weight of skepticism still loomed. Even as smiles flickered here and there, some faces remained expressionless or turned away. "Okay, I'll give you that," Margaret said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "But what else to say any of us will simply forget? You left, and we carried your weight, why shouldn't we hold you responsible?" Sarah inhaled sharply, fighting against the sting in her eyes. The reality of her absence had never left her, and the reminder felt like cold water thrown on her fledgling warmth. But right beside her, Jake's supportive presence was a steadying force. "Because she is trying," he asserted, his voice unyielding. "She is here now, and she wants to make things right. Isn't that worth something?" Jake's fierce defense ignited a spark of courage within Sarah. "Yes," she replied, her heart drumming against her chest. "I know I can't change the past, but I want to make a difference now. I want to be present. I want to hear all of you, your struggles, and victories." The crowd shifted uneasily. But she saw glimpses of contemplation, just tiny flickers, but they were there. "I know moving forward might seem impossible. Maybe I don't deserve your trust yet, but you deserve to be heard." Her eyes landed on the young woman who spoke earlier, and Sarah offered a warm smile. "Like you said, let us be each other's light." For a moment, the stillness stretched, heavy yet hopeful. Then a soft voice piped up from the back, "I'd like that." It was a man with tousled hair, whose face had been twisted in uncertainty before. "We can share, can't we? Honesty doesn't have to be scary." Encouragement rippled through the crowd, slowly growing in volume as a few more chimed in. Sarah felt the corners of her mouth lift. This was what she had wanted, connections born out of shared truths. "Yes," she encouraged, "let us start dialogue, let us have potlucks, art nights, anything where we can come together to know each other better." Her voice softened, swimming now in warmth. "We all have an untold story, and tonight feels like the right time to begin." But as shadows of doubt still settled around them, Margaret's voice cut through again. And what about your story, Sarah? You think we'll just overlook your sudden appearance and ignore what you've done? She swallowed, the realization hitting her hard. No, I don't expect you to forget. I don't expect forgiveness just like that. Her voice, though shaky, was determined. But I'm willing to work for it every day, if I have to. I can't promise I'll be perfect, but I am here to listen and to understand. The tension in the air crackled, but just as it did, the first stars began to twinkle above the gathering. It was a subtle reminder that even darkness could give way to light. Slowly, a few hesitant expressions shifted to something softer, and soon enough, one by one, more people reached for their glasses, lifting them in solidarity. To new beginnings, one brave soul called out. To new beginnings, others echoed, and for a moment, it felt like the night had begun to transform. Hope's light seemed to flicker within reach, illuminating the corners of uncertainty. Jake squeezed Sarah's shoulder, and she felt a swell of gratitude. Even if the struggle was just beginning, she believed this moment mattered. As the talks turned lighter and laughter mixed with the clinking of glasses, a sense of ease washed over Sarah. Perhaps she had finally stepped onto solid ground, and the journey ahead, though daunting, looked a bit brighter, but deep down, a question gnawed at her. What if her past was lurking, waiting for a chance to reclaim its power? Just as she thought of her own struggles, a fleeting memory cut through the pain she hadn't yet shared with anyone. Could revealing her deepest fear help bridge the chasm between her and the community she longed for? The fireflies danced around her, their soft glow reflecting the uncertainty she felt in her heart. And she wondered, would revealing her truth finally help heal her and those around her, or would it drive a wedge deeper into the fragile connection she was beginning to make? The air buzzed with a hesitant energy, a mixture of hope and lingering doubt circling around as laughter broke into smaller pockets of conversation. Faces softened as they shared stories of loss, struggle, and resilience, but still Sarah felt a looming shadow behind her as the weight of her own truths clamored for attention. Sarah, do you really think sharing helps? That voice sliced through the warm atmosphere. It was Margaret again, her eyes piercing in the dim light, challenging Sarah's resolve. You're opening old wounds. Some of us aren't ready for that. Taking a deep breath, Sarah tried to steady her racing heart. I understand, Margaret. But if we hold on to everything silently, it just becomes a mount of pain. I want to share not only my mistakes but also how I hope to grow from them. Jake, ever her anchor, nodded encouragingly, shooting a look at Margaret that said, give her a chance. The crowd grew restless, and as she stood there, Sarah felt her trembling hands clutch the edge of the table. I know it's easier to avoid talking about the hard stuff. I've done it for too long. She leaned closer, emboldened by the silent support surrounding her. What happened with my husband still haunts me. I fell into this pit of despair, thinking nothing could ever change. But I learned that talking about it, like really talking, can be healing. It doesn't mean we remove the hurt, it means we carry it together. A murmur rippled through the small gathering as someone shifted uncomfortably. A man named Carlos, with a slight tremor in his voice, stepped forward. I've never shared this with anyone, he began, glancing around as he sought courage from the group. But I lost my sister to an illness last year. I felt so alone. He paused, wiping a tear from the corner of his eye. It's been hard, but maybe talking about it tonight would help me find a piece of her again. His words hung in the air, gaining a weight that swelled with shared understanding. Several others nodded in solidarity, the tension melting away just enough to spark a small flame of camaraderie. Thank you, Carlos, Sarah said softly, her heart burning with empathy. Your sister's story matters. We all have those pieces we carry. Let's pull them out together. Margaret shifted, visibly reconsidering her stance. Maybe if we let each other in, maybe it could work. Her softening tone was a small victory. I want that, Sarah said, her voice trembling with emotion. I want to share the messiness of life. None of us are perfect, but we can support each other on this rocky road. Can we? Can we hold that space for one another? And just then, as if the universe responded to her gentle plea, the stars above twinkled brighter, each pinprick of light a reminder that pain could lead to healing and connection. The group formed small clusters, exchanging stories, whispers of loss, and laughter that mingled like old friends reuniting after years apart. Sarah felt a warmth wash over her. It was the first time in a long while she felt the grip of despair loosening. As the hours turned, she realized something powerful, sharing unveiled layers of hurt, but it also revealed the strength buried below the surface. Yet a different fear crept back into her heart. Revealing her past might not only heal, it might also make her vulnerable in ways she couldn't predict. Would they truly see her, or would it push them away? Just as she began to ponder her next move, the laughter around her grew quieter, and the space shifted again. The call of the night was stronger now, whispering secrets as the last remnants of twilight faded into darkness. But Sarah felt it swelling in her chest, this unshakable drive to reveal the truth she had guarded for so long. Would she dare to share the depths of her soul as the night deepened? Would it bring further connection or lay bare her wounds for all to see? As the final moments of the evening waned, the realization hit her: she stood at yet another crossroads. Would she step forward to reveal her hidden pain, or retreat back into the shadows of her past? Togetherness beckoned her forward, but was she ready to embrace the unknown? The atmosphere shifted, the laughter settling into a comfortable hum, but within Sarah, a storm brewed. Her heart raced as she weighed the options. It felt like standing upon a precipice, staring into an abyss that was her past. Sarah. A voice beckoned, gently pulling her from the swirl of uncertainty. It was Jake, his eyes warm and encouraging. He stepped closer, sensing her hesitation. "What's on your mind?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The words tangled like cobwebs in her throat. Would they understand? Would they see her brokenness as a burden? The group still chatted softly, exchanging glances filled with empathy, but doubt lingered. Could she shift from mere observer to participant in this grasp of shared sorrow? I don't know if I can." Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. The weight of her story sat heavily on her shoulders. "Start simple," Jake suggested, his voice an anchor. "You're not alone up here. Just take a breath." Breathing deeply, she focused on the rhythm of her pulse. Each heartbeat urged her toward honesty, toward liberation. "I was married for 5 years. We tried to start a family. I thought it would be perfect." The words flowed now, bubbling over as her emotions poured into the space around them. And then she hesitated, the thought of her lost dreams slipping through her fingers. "We lost our first child. I carried the hope for so long, but it just disappeared. I felt like the ground beneath me fell away." A wave of gasps rippled through the crowd. Faces turned toward her, encompassing her sorrow like a protective cocoon. The pain was unbearable, Sarah continued, feeling the warmth of their attention. "I felt like I was drowning, suffocated by grief. My husband tried to comfort me, but nothing could erase that loss. Then it all became too much. He didn't know how to help me, and eventually he left." Whispers fluttered through the room. She caught Margaret's gaze, less harsh now, more softened with sympathy. "I thought I'd never heal." Sarah's voice cracked. "In my solitude, I spiraled further into despair, believing I was meant to bear my pain alone, but I realize now that it's okay to let others in." With every word she spoke, an invisible thread connected her to the others gathered here. A collective understanding simmered in the air, and just as a cloud bursts, releasing rain after a long drought, it felt like she was finally letting them in. "I still struggle," she admitted, her heart pounding in her chest. "Some days the darkness creeps back in." But tonight she looked around the group, searching for connection. "Tonight, you have made me feel less alone. If I could carry just a sliver of your strength, maybe I could find my way back." The silence that followed was thick with emotion, each person feeling the weight of her truth. Then, Carlos stepped forward again, wiping away tears. "You're not alone, Sarah. I feel what you're saying. I thought my grief isolated me, but hearing you it's like you took the words right out of my heart. Sarah felt the courage swell within her. Margaret quietly nodded, her defenses lowering at last. We are in this together, Sarah said, her breath catching as laughter and tears danced in the air, blending into a bittersweet melody. She realized they were all standing at a crossroads, needing to embrace their vulnerabilities, to weave their stories into a tapestry of shared experience. As the gathering continued, Sarah could see glimmers of hope threading through the pain. But as she basked in the warmth of acceptance, a new thought pressed against her mind. What if revealing the deeper parts of herself opened gateways she hadn't anticipated? And what lay beyond those doors? Just then, a gentle breeze rustled the outside leaves, an invitation to an unknown journey ahead. Would she dare step fully into the light, exposing her soul beyond this room? What revelation awaited her in the unfolding chapters of her life? The quiet energy of the room wrapped around Sarah like a warm blanket. She felt less like an isolated island and more like part of a tide that ebbed and flowed with shared stories. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. Jake smiled at her, a nod of encouragement that ignited something inside. The weight on her chest lightened, and she dared to imagine what lay ahead. She glanced around at the faces, each person a testament to struggles faced and battles fought. I can't help but feel this isn't just a one-time thing, she admitted, the words surprising her. Maybe this is just the beginning of finding new connections, or maybe even more. A soft murmur filled the air as nods of agreement swept through the group. They were hungry for connection, too, searching for a way to walk through their own grief. Margaret, quite unexpectedly, took a step forward. You're right, Sarah. It feels like we're finding a way to breathe again. But how do we keep this going? I've tried this alone for so long, I'm not sure how to bridge that gap. Maybe, Carlos chimed in, his eyes bright with inspiration, we can create a support group, something regular. A safe space where we can share, cry, and grow together. Sarah's heart leaped. The idea felt alive, pulsing with potential. We could meet here every week, or even just once a month. Something simple, where we can keep reminding each other we're not alone. The group murmured in agreement, a sense of excitement swelling. This was more than a support group, it was a chance to rewrite their narratives, their connections woven together. Margaret clasped her hands, her voice steady. I'm in. I need this. I think we all do. Suddenly, the notion of moving on wasn't so daunting. The darkness that lingered felt less menacing when there were people ready to walk the path with her. Sarah could already envision themselves sitting in a circle, sharing laughter, sharing tears, maybe even leaning into joy again. However, just as hope swelled around them, the door creaked open, drawing every gaze towards it. A new arrival stepped inside, a tall figure with dark hair that framed a face of warmth. They locked eyes, and something in Sarah sparked that he smiled, a genuine warmth that felt oddly familiar. Without thinking, she waved him over, curiosity igniting within her. He crossed the room with purpose, the air shifting slightly around him. I'm really sorry to interrupt. I saw the group and I wanted to check in. I used to come here a lot before. His voice trailed off, hinting at a shared history of loss. Immediately, every person turned their attention to him, intrigue bubbling up. The atmosphere thrummed with an energy that felt electric. What is your name? Sarah asked, her voice steady, now curious about this unexpected guest and what story he might bring. Ethan, he replied, his gaze searching the group. I'm very familiar with grief. And I know how isolating it can feel. Sarah watched him, something in his tone resonating deeply. Would revealing her heart bring more than just bonds formed over sorrow? Could this stranger be part of a new chapter in her life? Just as she pondered this, a shadow of hope wove through her. What if, among all this sharing, she discovered something more? Ethan tilted his head, his eyes brightening with possibility. I'd love to join this group if you'll have me. A surge of anticipation swept through Sarah. What did that mean for her story? And could she let someone in again? The room almost buzzed with this new direction. The unexpected twist at the door held promise, but it was one she had to tread carefully. So much hung in the balance. Would she take this step into something new? Or retreat back into the safe shadows of her heart? Ethan's presence cast a different light in the room. Sarah lifted her chin, taking in the subtle yet genuine warmth radiating from him. He was not just another stranger, he seemed more like a missing piece in a puzzle she didn't even know she was trying to solve. The murmurs of the group grew louder. Curiosity twisted in her stomach. Could her heart handle this? She glanced around, seeking the comfort of familiar faces. Jake offered her an encouraging nod, as though he sensed the inner chaos stirring within her. So, Ethan, Carlos prompted, breaking the spell of silence. What brought you back here? I mean, after all this time. Ethan took a breath, his expression turning serious. Honestly, I've missed this place. I had my own struggles. Lost someone dear to me, and I never really got the closure I needed. His gaze shifted, landing on Sarah for a heartbeat too long. I thought maybe stepping back in would help. The words hung heavy in the air. Sarah felt her chest tighten at the vulnerability he exhibited. It reminded her of her own journey, of the moments when she felt stripped bare, longing for someone to understand. Margaret stepped closer, sensing the connection forming. That's brave of you, Ethan. I think we all understand that pull toward this space, toward companionship in grief. With every beat of the conversation, Sarah felt more alive. The camaraderie of shared pain began stitching her heart back together in unexpected ways. She slipped into her mind, wrestling with the question that loomed larger with each passing moment. Was she ready for this? Maybe we could all share something, Sarah suggested, the words slipping out before she could second-guess herself. Something that brought us here, or something we're looking for. The idea sparked a wave of agreement, and one by one, stories surfaced. Jake spoke about a lingering sense of loss after his brother's passing. Margaret shared her battle with empty nest syndrome. Carlos offered insights on his struggles as a caregiver. Each revelation was a fragile thread pulling everyone closer. When it was finally Sarah's turn, her heart raced. As she spoke about her late husband and the dreams they shared, every word felt heavy and cathartic. Tears burned her eyes, but there was strength in her vulnerability now. Ethan listened intently, his expression unwavering, a testament that he understood pain all too well. Once she finished, Sarah felt a slight shift in the atmosphere, a warmth that blanketed the room, binding their stories together. It felt like a beautiful tapestry, each of their threads creating something beautiful out of their pain. Ethan caught her gaze, his eyes reflecting a kind of understanding that made her heart flutter. Thank you for sharing that. I see a courage in you that's inspiring, he said softly. Laughter and camaraderie flushed the air as others continued to share. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt her heart lifting, buoyed by hope and connection, but just as the richness of their gathering sank in, the door creaked open again. A familiar and unwelcome figure appeared, and Sarah's breath hitched. What was he doing here? She never expected to see him again, not like this. Ethan noticed her sudden tension and whispered, "You okay?" His concern was genuine. That a storm brewed inside her, threatening to pull her back to the shadows she had only begun to escape. The room buzzed with anticipation, but for Sarah, another challenge lay ahead. Would she confront the ghosts of her past or let them haunt her silently? As she steadied her breath, the door fully opened, and uncertainty gripped her. What next? Would facing this new twist lead her one step closer to healing? Or would it drown her back in despair? A chill swept through the room as Sarah's eyes locked onto the figure standing in the doorway. It didn't take long for everyone's attention to shift, murmurs fading into an unsettling silence. The world outside felt like it had collapsed for Sarah, who found herself frozen in place. The familiarity of that face stirred up emotions she thought she had buried. "Sarah," he said, softer than she expected. Her heart raced, pounding like a drum as old wounds threatened to flare. Ethan shifted closer, sensing her discomfort. His presence, a stark contrast to the figure who now walked in, felt like a shield against the past. "I'll be right here," he whispered, a quiet promise that made Sarah's pulse soften just a little. "Why are you here?" she managed to say as dread trickled down her spine. Every word felt heavy on her tongue. The echoes of their last encounter flooded back harsh words and broken trust. "I came to apologize," he replied, stepping tentatively into the room. His eyes, usually so confident, held a hint of vulnerability. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I should be been there." "Should have?" Sarah scoffed, her emotions twisting into anger and hurt. "You made your choice. You walked away when I needed you most." The bitterness rolled off her tongue, and in that moment, she faced the truth of her pain. The person before her had played a significant role in shaping this chapter of her life. The tension in the room was palpable, each person holding their breath, drawn into the storm brewing between them. "Sarah, please," he pleaded, desperation threading through his voice. "I know it sounds hollow now, but I'm here to make it right. I never stopped caring." She swayed on the edge of a precipice, caught between the walls she had built around her heart and the vulnerability she had just begun to rediscover with Ethan. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the chair beside her, grappling with the turmoil of conflicting emotions. Ethan stepped closer, his warm gaze steady and searching, cutting through the veil of hurt. "You don't have to reply now. It's okay. But I'm not going to let you confront this alone." His determination to support her sent a surge of gratitude through her, something she hadn't expected to feel. "Confront what?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your past. Your pain," Ethan replied gently. "You deserve to heal. And you deserve to be free from the things that haunt you." Was she ready to unpack all of this? Could she truly confront her past when it felt like a heavy weight on her shoulders? She noticed the others around her, their revealed stories, their brokenness. They were all here, seeking healing together, which brought her a shred of comfort. But this one confrontation felt so personal. Her gaze flickered back to the man who had walked into her life like a ghost, and the memories flooded in. Opening up old wounds was daunting. Would it expose more hurt, or could it finally allow her to close the chapter for good? "Do we face it together?" she asked suddenly, her breath catching as she spoke the words aloud. Ethan hesitated, as if weighing the risks. "If that's what you need." With uncertainty wrapping around her heart, Sarah felt a newfound determination rise inside her. It was time to take charge of her narrative. It was time to wield her truth instead of hiding from it. But just as the room started to warm with possibility, another loud knock echoed through the space, this time more insistent. Sarah's heart tightened with apprehension. What more lay ahead? Who could that be? Margaret asked, glancing toward the door. Each person exchanged unsure looks. Sarah's heart raced. The answers she sought were close, yet so much still remained unexplored. As she stood on the edge of something transformative, the door began to swing open again, revealing yet another surprise. Could this be the key to unlocking her healing, or a deeper plunge into chaos? As the door creaked open, Sarah felt her heart plummet. A figure stepped through, silhouetted against the bright night sky. For a brief second, she couldn't breathe. But then recognition kicked in, and she gasped, "Mom." Her mother, who hadn't been a part of her life for years, stood before them, looking as uncertain as a child lost in the dark. The room hushed, the air thick with surprise and hesitation. "Sarah, I am sorry to show up like this," her mother stammered, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I heard about Ryan and couldn't stay away any longer. I came to see you." Shock rolled through the crowd, but all Sarah could feel was a rush of emotions: anger, confusion, and the tiniest glimmer of hope. "You left when I needed you, Mom. You turned your back on me." "I know." Her mother's voice cracked, each word a struggle. "And I've regretted it every single day. I was scared, and I thought leaving you would be best for your happiness. But, I see now how wrong I was." The crowd watched in silence, their shock morphing into empathy as they exchanged glances. Ethan subtly moved closer to Sarah, his presence radiating strength. In that moment, against the whirlwind of feelings, Sarah finally understood that she didn't have to navigate this alone. "I've made so many mistakes," her mother continued. "But I'm here now. I want to understand you, to know what you've been through, to apologize." Fury surged through Sarah, the walls she built feeling both protective and suffocating. "You think you can just walk back in? As if nothing happened?" she snapped, letting the hurt spill forth. "You vanished when I was struggling. I lost my husband, my dreams. Do you even know how hard it's been?" "I do," her mother replied, anguish evident in her voice. "I've lost people too. I know pain, and I want to help you carry yours." Sarah's walls trembled, and vulnerability seeped in. What if her mom's desire to reconnect held the key to her own healing? "Do you really want to understand me?" she asked, unconsciously stepping forward. "Yes. I want to support you," her mother replied, eyes pooling with tears. "I was selfish before, but I've changed." With every heartbeat, the air grew thicker. The room brimmed with those wanting to support her, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of warmth in the middle of the storm. She glanced at Jake, who offered her a reassuring smile. "Okay," she finally said, hope threading through her voice. "Let us talk. Let us figure this out, together." A collective breath released among the group, and Sarah felt as if she was the one igniting a spark for change, not just for herself but for her mom and the entire community. With that one decision, it felt like she had thrust open a door to a future filled with potential. The conversation flowed. Her mother opened up about her own battles and regrets, sharing her story of loss and pain. It didn't erase the past, but it felt like a bridge forming one built with honesty and authenticity. Hours slipped away, the room bathed in soft light, spirits slowly lifting with every shared story. The warmth of connection flared, weaving around Sarah as she let go of the bitterness a little more. Ethan caught Sarah's eye, a soft smile on his lips. "Sometimes healing is messy, but it's so needed," he said gently. "You're right," Sarah nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I can carry this burden with people beside me. I don't have to do it alone." Just then, Margaret, her expression softer than before, raised her glass to Sarah. "To new beginnings and the courage to face our past," she declared, her voice ringing out firmly. "To new beginnings." The group echoed, their spirits lifting as they clinked glasses. For the first time, the fear of judgment felt lighter, their hearts opening to the possibility of community and understanding. As Sarah looked around, she realized that despite the scars and shadows, they were all here for one another. The shared aspirations began to outweigh the whispers that once surrounded her. Each moment was a step toward healing, a chance to be heard, understood, and loved, with her mother beside her and Ethan like an anchor. Sarah felt hope envelop her, wrapping like a comforting shawl. There was light ahead, and as she ventured forward into the night, she wasn't just a widow, she was a woman reclaimed, ready to heal and embrace life with open arms. And in that profound moment of connection, Sarah recognized something beautiful. Every story carried weight, but together, they formed a tapestry rich with resilience and strength. "Let us make this the start of something great," she smiled, a vision of the future igniting in her heart, a light that would not be extinguished. In that quiet promise, she understood that no matter how tumultuous the journey, she was never truly alone. Now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the hope we've shared today. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear your thoughts, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let's create a community of light and love.